Carson Beck's reported $4 million NIL payment could reshape the NFL game. The recent news that Carson Beck, former quarterback for the University of Georgia, could receive a reported $4 million in NIL, name, image, and likeness payments to play for the University of Miami in 2025 has sent shockwaves through both the college and professional football worlds. If true, this development could have profound implications on the way college football players approach their careers, and ultimately, how the NFL draft process unfolds. The changing landscape of college football. College football has always been a business, but now, it's more transparent than ever. For years, players were the only participants in this multi-billion-dollar industry who weren't compensated. Everyone else, from school administrators to stadium vendors, was getting paid. The introduction of NIL rights has finally allowed college athletes to cash in on their own name, likeness, and image. And with a potential $4 million in hand, top-tier players like Beck may no longer feel the pressure to leave school early to enter the NFL. In fact, the financial incentive to stay in college could outweigh the relatively modest rookie contracts that most first-year NFL players receive. For 2024 first-round picks, only the top 16 selections will sign contracts that total more than $4 million per year. If Beck, or any other high-profile college player, can secure NIL money in excess of what a first-year contract would pay in the NFL, it becomes a very real question: why leave? A new business decision for players. This brings the player decision-making process into sharper focus. College athletes can now weigh the pros and cons of entering the NFL draft immediately versus staying in school, pocketing NIL money, and continuing to develop their skills. The key factor here is the potential for a player to earn more by staying in college and receiving NIL payments, rather than taking the risk of entering the NFL with a relatively modest rookie deal. In the NFL, a player's first contract is often not a huge payday, especially for players outside of the top 10 selections. For quarterbacks or highly ranked players, the allure of a big contract may still be strong. But for those with slightly more uncertain draft stock, the question is, why rush? They may prefer staying in college, where they can continue to grow as players, maximize their earnings, and avoid the early career setbacks that some NFL rookies face. Shifting power dynamics. Players gaining leverage. This shift in the economics of college football could also shift the power dynamics in the NFL. As more top players amass significant NIL wealth, they could be in a better position to turn down bad draft situations, much like Eli Manning did in 2004 when he avoided being drafted by the San Diego Chargers, or John Elway in 1983, when he refused to play for the Colts. A future where high-profile players refuse to sign with dysfunctional teams could become more plausible, particularly if they are financially secure from their time in college. In a draft situation, a player could leverage their NIL money and demand a trade if drafted by a team they don't want to play for. This would give players more control over their career trajectory, as they would no longer be beholden to the traditional draft structure that often places them in poor situations with bad teams. A positive for player development. Another positive effect of the NIL-driven changes is the additional playing time college players get before entering the NFL. Players who stay in college longer have more time to develop and refine their skills. And this extra experience can be invaluable once they transition to the professional level. We've already seen players like Jaden Daniels, Commanders, and Bo Nix, Broncos, develop rapidly thanks to additional time in college. As more players stay in college and delay their entry into the NFL, they will be more polished and better prepared when they finally step onto the field as pros. This benefits both the players and the NFL, which will see more ready-made talent coming out of college each year. Conclusion. Business as usual. What's unfolding is not just a player-driven shift in the business of football, but the formalization of what has always been college football as professional football. With NIL money giving players more options, they are now making business decisions rather than simply choosing to play in the NFL as a means of achieving financial security. This is a major evolution of the system, and while it might face some resistance, especially from fans and traditionalists, it's clear that the landscape of football is changing. And players are now in a position to call the shots on their careers like never before. In the end, it's a business for everyone involved. And now, for the first time, the players are able to make business decisions that are in their best financial and career interests.